Namaskar. Honorable Chief Guest Dr. K. Radhakrishnan, Member Space Commission, former Secretary Department of Space, Chairman ISRO, Shri S. Somanath, Chairman ISRO, Secretary Department of Space, President Governing Body IST, Dr. B. N. Suresh, Honorable Chancellor IST, Dr. Unnikrishnan Nair S., Director IST and VSSC, Directors of other centers and distinguished guests, Professor Kuruvilla Joseph, Registrar IST, Deans, members of faculty, officers, staff, and dear students. A very good afternoon to one and all. हम इस कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत ईश वंदना से करते हैं. Now I invite Kumari Annie, BTech Engineering Physics second year student for invocation. All are requested to remain seated.
നന്മയാകുന്ന കാന്തി കാണുവാൻ കണ്ണിനാകേണമേ നല്ല വാക്കിൻ്റെ ശീലു ചൊല്ലുവാൻ നാവിനാകേണമേ സ്നേഹമാകുന്ന ഗീതമോ എൻ്റെ കാതിനിണയാകണേ സത്യമെന്നുള്ള ശീലമോടെ ഞാൻ ശാന്തി അറിയണമേ ഭൂമി അമ്മ എന്നറിയുവാനുള്ള ബോധമുണ്ടാകണേ ജീവജാലങ്ങളാകയും ജന്മബന്ധുവാകേണമേ ജാതി ഭേദങ്ങളെന്ന ശാപമോ ദൂരെ മറയണമേ ലോകമൊന്നെന്ന പാഠമിന്നുമെൻ മനസ്സിലെഴുതേണമേ ആ
Thank you. We now bring before you a 3-minute video on IST, Crystal Footprints, made by Department of Humanities. We especially thank Dr. Babita Justin, Associate Professor, Department of Humanities, who had made this happen. कृपया आप सब इस वीडियो का आनंद उठाएं.
This is the brief history of the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology. Envisioned from the dreams of a handful of scientists and educational enthusiasts, the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology has become any technical student's dream. IIST's history in a time capsule indicates that the institute has a unique tradition of producing space scientists and engineers out of the best of the pan-Indian student community.
Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, IIST, is one of the premier research institutions and academic institution of this country, which is an integral part of Indian Space Research Organization. This institute was created to bring out quality scientists, researchers in the field of space and aerospace area to support the Indian space program.
As a premier institute, we are committed to absorb the essence of the new national education policy and stay relevant for years to come. We need to put in more efforts to improve our ranking in both national as well as international ranking.
IIST is celebrating its 15th year. IIST fraternity is going to have a variety of academic activities for the next 1 year in connection with its Crystal Jubilee celebration.
IIST caters to the individual student dreams and their technical aspirations. It also equips them to be useful to the society. After spotting a perfect swathe of land at the foothills of the Sahyas, dotted by the sea on the one hand and the hills on the other, draped in fine greenery and sandwiched between the urban and the rural facades of humanity, the dream of IIST was realized on September 14, 2007. After the initial labor of fine tuning the discovery of new knowledge with innovative research, the Institute was raring to take off with the first batch of 148 students. The first 18 faculty members, under the leadership of the founding director, Dr. B.N. Suresh, joined the Institute in September 2007. The combination of technical know-how, expertise, and freshness led the faculty members apart. And thus, on the 14th September 2007, a new chapter was born in the form of an educational institute in the annals of Indian space history.
When I look back, the journey of IIST from the temporary campus in VSSC to Valyamala, I can see that IIST come up to a state where IIST faculty and students are excelling in their teaching, learning, research process.
IIST has one of the finest of the faculties, almost 100 of them, who have been educated in many premier institutions, have experience outside India. They come over and created labs of great quality at the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology. The students who are there in IIST are also from the best of the best lot who comes through the national selection process of JEE.
Among the 7 departments of IIST, aerospace and avionics are homes to the brilliance of technicality and precision. The departments of earth science, physics, chemistry, and mathematics buttress the technical knowledge systems with scientific and interdisciplinary knowledge. The Department of Humanities handholds technology's affiliation with its outreach towards the society.
There is a vibrant research atmosphere in IIST. Almost 180 PhD students are currently doing the research activities, also have the master's program. And the beautiful part of IIST is their strong laboratory systems where there is possibility to conduct experiments and research in various domains.
to fulfill the dream of the founding visionaries of IIST. We are
Thanks to this team. I request all the dignitaries to kindly occupy the seats on the dais. I request our director and registrar to lead the guests to the seats. सबको धन्यवाद। हमारे संस्थान में अपने प्रथम कुलाधिपति डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम के पावन स्मृति में डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम व्याख्यान माला का संस्थापन किया गया है। आज इस व्याख्यान माला का 8वां व्याख्यान का आयोजन किया जा रहा है। 8वां डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम व्याख्यान तथा आईएसटी के क्रिस्टल जयंती समारोह में आप सबका हार्दिक स्वागत है। Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam lecture series was instituted in IST in the fond memory of our first chancellor, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. I feel privileged to welcome you all to the 8th Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam lecture and to the inauguration of the Crystal Jubilee celebrations of IST. Now, let me take the honor of introducing our director, Dr. S. Unnikrishnan Nair, a distinguished scientist who took charge as director IST on 20th September 2022. He's the director of VSSC and was also the first director of Human Space Flight Center, Bangalore. During his tenure at VSSC, he has made significant contributions in launch vehicle mechanisms, acoustic protection systems, and payload fairing areas. He has led all advanced projects like human spaceflight, air-breathing propulsion, and reusable launch vehicle development. He has received ISRO Team Excellence Award for his contributions to SRE, ISRO Excellence Award and ISRO Individual Merit Award for his contributions towards technology development for manned space mission. अब मैं स्वागत भाषण के लिए हमारे आदरणीय निदेशक महोदय डॉक्टर उन्नीकृष्णन नायर जी को सादर आमंत्रित करूंगी. मैं now invite our respected director Dr. Unnikrishnan Nair to welcome the guests and the gathering.
Thank you very much. Greetings to you all. Very good afternoon. Our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Radhakrishnan, our beloved Chairman, Shri Somanath, and our beloved Chancellor, Dr. B.N. Suresh, Shri Professor Kurula, who is the acting as registrar, and directors of LPSC, Dr. Narayanan, Director IESU, was also the former director of IIST, Dr. Samdayal Dev, controllers from VSSC, LPSC, MC members from LPSC, VSSC, and above all, my dear students, this is my first address as Director IIST to all of you. Very happy to meet all of you here, and we have reached a very important milestone as far as the institute is concerned. We completed 15 years, and this is the 15th year or crystal anniversary celebrations. And we have none other than our chairman to inaugurate a year-long program. We will have multiple programs for the entire year. And 15 years is a very long time as far as an institute is concerned. I remember the starting, you have seen the video, the beginnings of IIST in temporary buildings at VSSC, and we have a full-fledged campus here, thanks to the tireless effort by our Chancellor, Dr. B.N. Suresh. He has come over for this function, and he is with us. And every opportunity, whenever we ask him, he is so glad to come and meet all of us. So on behalf of all of you, let us welcome our Chancellor to this function. And our chairman was supposed to come for the tomorrow's INA function, but when we told him that we have a function and we asked him to inaugurate the crystal anniversary celebration, as well as we have another couple of inaugurations here, he readily agreed and advanced in spite of his yesterday he was in NRC and today he is here with us. So we are all very happy and we are very warmly welcome you, sir, to this function. And today's chief guest needs no introduction, a multifaceted personality. Today we were watching a movie in which he is playing a very, so there is a delay. Yeah. And he has acted in a movie based on his biography, Yanam. And you all know that apart from his technical contribution, he is a great artist. He's a Carnatic singer. He acts or he plays Kathakali and writes books. So the most appropriate person we have today for the 8th Abdul Kalam lecture. So let us all welcome Dr. K. Radhakrishnan to this campus. I welcome Dr. Narayanan, Dr. Samdayal Dev, and the controllers of both VSSC, LPSC, and Professor Kuruvilla, all the faculty members, deans, and above all, my dear students, because you are going to make that perception about IIST when you go out and you share your experience. And it is all the more important that you become the ambassadors of IIST and make us feel more and more proud. And then from the current ranking of say 40 or 42 in an era of, let us become number one in the country and probably in the world in years to come. I welcome all of you to this function. Thank you very much.
धन्यवाद सर, आपका भी इस कार्यक्रम में हार्दिक स्वागत है. IST was established in 2007 to develop and discover possibilities of science and technology in space explorations and shape manpower to facilitate the same. At its inception, it was Asia's first space university. In the 15 years of its functioning, the institute has further dynamically evolved and expanded as a center of multidisciplinary learning and research with a dedicated focus on the theme of space science. Today, we witness the inauguration of the Crystal Jubilee celebrations of IST. This is a one-year-long program which will be inaugurated by Shri S. Somanath, the chairman of ISRO and the secretary of Department of Space. Shri S. Somanath is an aerospace engineer and rocket technologist known for his contributions to launch vehicle design, particularly in the areas of launch vehicle systems engineering, structural design, structural dynamics, and pyrotechnics. He has been our director in charge for 6 months. May I now take the privilege of inviting Shri S. Somanath, Chairman ISRO, to inaugurate the Crystal Jubilee celebrations of IST by lighting the lamp. I request all the dignitaries to join. श्री एस सोमनाथ जी तथा सभी गणमान्य अतिथिगण से अनुरोध करूंगी कि वे दीप प्रज्वलित करते हुए आईएसटी के क्रिस्टल जयंती समारोह का उद्घाटन करें. सभी को हमारा धन्यवाद। अब मैं श्री एस सोमनाथ अध्यक्ष इसरो को उद्घाटन भाषण के लिए सादर आमंत्रित करूंगी। मैं now invite our chairman Shri S. Somanath to deliver the inaugural address.
Honorable Chancellor of IIST, Dr. B.N. Suresh. Our guest of honor today, Dr. K. Radhakrishnan, who is going to deliver the 8th APJ Abdul Kalam lecture. Director of IIST, Dr. Unnikrishnan, Registrar IIST, former directors, directors of ISRO centers, deans, faculty members, and all dear students who are assembled here, and as well as those who are listening online. My greetings to you on the occasion of the celebration beginning of the Crystal Jubilee of Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, and also the occasion where we are having the luminaries here to listen to the 8th APJ Abdul Kalam lecture. Frankly, I don't know anything about Crystal Jubilee. I am hearing it for the first time. And new jubilees are being invented recently. When I was in LPSC, they invented Pearl Jubilee. That was a celebration of 30th year of existence. And now we have one for 15th year. It's wonderful to have such jubilees and celebrations. Especially it's a time when we can take stock of things. No? After being as a great institution for last 15 years, it's always finding a right occasion to take stock of what we did for the last 15 years, where we stand, and also look at what you can do in the future. How do you really shape your future? I think that is very important. From that point of view, any celebration are most welcome. And I think, especially for students here, an occasion for celebration is something most welcome, really. And I know the suggestion by director is to have this celebration for 1 year. And that is also wonderful, that you will have enough opportunity to really to organize some programs and also to allow you to bring in people from various walks of life here, interact and then understand what way we should further proceed in terms of your academic activities, research activities, and industry collaboration, which are very important 3 pillars of your existence. I only want to take this opportunity to first talk about the genesis of IIST and also to understand where and what that exactly this IIST should stand for. Of course, the original idea of why IIST is required is actually a little bit hazy today. No, you may be realizing it today. Those needs have changed. The system, the ambience of the space ecosystem in the country has gone through a large amount of transformation and is continuously transforming. And the demand and the possibility of younger people to join ISRO is actually changing. And the ecosystem outside ISRO is also being modified to an extent that it is creating more noise than what is happening inside ISRO. And the young people are also showcasing they can do wonderful things outside the space ecosystem prevailing in the governmental sector than what they can do much better outside. As at least there is an impression created, is really good. But as the chairman of ISRO, I had an opportunity to go around the country and then look at the work of many of those young people and also startups and industries in space sector, and really impressed. And I want to tell you, it's not a PR activity that it's happening all around. It is actually things are happening. And the most of the things that are happening are in the sectors which has a business and commercial potential, and how space technology can be used to create business, money, and that also gives him employment and also creates some innovative outcome which actually being looked upon by others in space sector with really wonder. In India, the startup ecosystem is really one of the best in the world, who have really able to produce results than many others who are just talking about large number of startups, but not really creating that outcome. Look at the downstream activity in terms of the space application. Some of the industries, startups, they have really made big mark in the ecosystem and also, grown in size in terms of the employability that they are giving and also the business outcome. And they have their vision for the future is also well laid out. And also the people who are working on the upstream area, like the rocket building. I think they are also making their mark, though it is one of the most difficult domain to really to succeed without good amount of investment, the technical complexity, and the type of people knowledge. Still, they are making progress. It's really wonderful to see liquid engines being developed by students with the support of the retired people from ISRO or whatever, and also to look at methods by which it is done differently than what was traditionally being done in ISRO system. So it's really something wonderful, and you people can have the possibility to aspire to become somebody who can develop things outside the space industry or aerospace industry in this country. It's really wonderful to happen. So when you are talking about this change which is happening, it's equally important that you need to look at IIST as an institution, what we need to remodel yourself. And also, it's also equally important for a person like me, who is the chair of the ISRO, to look at what way we should remodel the ISRO system also. So both are equally important. It's not for IIST alone that you change, ISRO will not change, not like that. We have to change, make these changes everywhere. And what are the changes? Specifically, I'll tell you a few points which you could take a message on the way you should proceed in the crystal celebration. One is the shift from production and delivery to research and development. And this is a very important shift in an organization which was originally created to research and development. And over the years, research and development led to product development. And product development, once it is demonstrated, it went into operationalization. And operational running became a very important role. And for that, you get certain credit. And ISRO is one of the organizations which actually produce outcome out of the research they did and showed that it is possible to produce tangible outcome out of the research work. So it is really wonderful. But then equally difficult today is that once you push too much of production and outcome oriented work, the other side suffer, the research side suffer. Doesn't mean that it is suffering. The most of the research work is actually oriented towards product improvement and better product. But there could be better way of doing research. I think this requires more focus on research, and lesser tasks which associated with the production should move out of the system. This is very, very important. So research has to increase in ISRO. But there is a problem within ISRO that the research is not recognized. The recognition level and the appreciation level for research-oriented work is actually lower. So my effort today is to increase it. The respect for the research and people and their growth in the organization has to be commensurate with the research outcome. How to do this is very important. And equally important that the people from IIST should come into and fit into the right slots in the organization, which will be good for the organization. So from these 2 points, which I have been discussing with the people here, how to remodel IIST and ISRO together so that you people seamlessly get into ISRO system, and also you will be useful for the emerging space ecosystem outside ISRO. These two are important. So you need to have the industry skills to be absorbed in startup and other systems. Sometimes you may also incubate something related to that. Also, you will come and work in a ecosystem in ISRO who will really get aligned with the work which in ISRO we do. Once you are inside, you will not like to go out because it will become so thrilling to work in ISRO. Both are required. So this topic which is currently being discussed with the IIST leadership is to expand IIST encompassing the entire ISRO system. So the connect can be improved. And we have different models of this, which I would like to address and then come out with great solutions in the immediate time. There is enough of research and capable talents within ISRO which is unexplored in terms of the practical wisdom which they have, in terms of the solutions they can easily achieve. And also equally, the faculty here are connected to the ISRO activities is also very weak today. So we realize both this disconnect. I'm not telling it is totally disconnect. The connect is not strong enough, and we need to enhance this in the coming days. Then only the transitioning will happen. From an academic institution alone, no, it's not enough. It has to have an academic institution of a different level, which was a goal. I think Dr. Suresh also will tell about the similar goals earlier. It was not an ordinary academic institutions of whatever we have in India. There are plenty of high-level academic institutions in this country, and they are not the one which is immediately feeding to the space program. Actually, their feeding to space program is much lower than what you are doing. You have at least 1,000 plus of your alumni working in space sector today, which cannot be claimed by any national institution of this country today. So this is the credit of IIST. And you need to work on this and then make this institution much bigger. So I don't elaborate on the process, what I just mentioned. I only gave a bird's eye view of what way it should work. And it is up to you to come out with solutions and approaches which will be implemented in the next 1 or 2 years. And let Crystal celebration today, let it be crystal or diamond or gold or whatever. A celebration of this nature really, help you to get views and approve and proposals from each one of you, and make sure that you are an active participant in this whole process of thinking, brainstorming, and then come out with ideas what way this institution should remodel itself in terms of the various aspects, in terms of the research, in terms of the administration, in terms of the connect with the space ecosystem, and come out with some proposal. We will look at it and then take action in the future. Thank you so much and all the very best to you. And I forgot to tell that with this, let me inaugurate the Crystal Jubilee celebration.
Dhanyawad Mahoday. As IST is celebrating its Crystal Jubilee in 2022-23, Students Activity Board and Cultural Committee invited logo submissions from faculty members, staff, and students. The committee received 10 entries and has selected the logo by Shri Aishwarya Mishra, Scientist Engineer D, LPSC ISRO, who has been an alumni of IST and now doing his research in Department of Aerospace IST. मैं now request Shri Somnath to release the logo. अध्यक्ष इसरो से अनुरोध करूंगी कि वे क्रिस्टल जयंती समारोह से संबंधित लोगो जारी करें. धन्यवाद महोदय. It's my honor to introduce Dr. B.N. Suresh, the Chancellor of IST, an honorary distinguished professor at ISRO headquarters, Bangalore. He had been the founding director of IST. He was president for Indian National Academy of Engineering, Delhi for 4 years, and also he was member of Board of Governors of IIT Madras for 7 years. He has made significant contributions to Indian space program in the area of aerospace for the design and development of different versions of launch vehicles. He provided the dynamic leadership for the successful launches of ASLV, PSLV, and GSLV. His major contributions were in the development of inertial guidance system for all launch vehicles of ISRO, in defining more advanced launch vehicles like GSLV Mark III, reusable launch vehicle technology demonstrator, and air-breathing propulsion. He has won several awards and honors. In recognition of his meritorious contributions for science and technology, Government of India conferred on him Padma Shri during the year 2002 and the third highest civilian award, Padma Bhushan, during the year 2013. Recently, he was elected as an international member of the United States of National Academy of Engineering. The honor was bestowed upon him in recognition of his distinguished contributions in engineering, advances in technologies for space exploration, and leadership in promoting peaceful uses of outer space. Sir, IST still strives to achieve your vision and dreams. With these words, may I now invite Honorable Chancellor, Dr. B.N. Suresh, to deliver the address. माननीय कुलाधिपति डॉक्टर B.N. सुरेश जी से मैं अनुरोध करूंगी कि वे सभा को संबोधित करें.
Good afternoon to all of you. Shri S. Somanath, Chairman ISRO, Secretary DOS, Dr. K. Radhakrishnan, my very long friend, almost 50 plus years, former Secretary, Chairman ISRO, Member Space Commission, Shri Krishnan, Director VSSC, Professor Kurvilla, Registrar IIST, Dr. Narayanan, Dr. Shyamdayal Dev, controllers, deans, faculty members, and my dear young friends. At the very outset, let me convey very, very warm greetings on this Crystal Jubilee celebrations. I also found out what is Crystal later on. But 15 years have passed by It's good that Chairman ISRO himself has inaugurated this 15 years celebrations, year-long celebrations. I still remember many things. I would like to share some of them with you. You know, the genesis for the birth of IIST was in the earlier days, it's all in 1990s and 2000. We used to have a number of launches, and once the launch is successful and satellite is put in the orbit, we used to go to Delhi and then brief the Prime Minister. That was the tradition those days. And in one such occasion, that was in very distinctly, I remember 2007 middle, one of the PSLV launches, which put satellite in the orbit and then happened to go to Delhi. Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister at that time. Then we briefed, everything was over. And also there is a tradition to move adjourn to take a cup of tea, and invariably Prime Minister wouldn't join because of the pressure of work. But so happened that on that day, possibly he had a little free time, he came out and mingled with us. And Dr. Madhavan Nair was the Chairman ISRO at that time. And while taking tea, we were just having informal discussions, myself, Madhavan Nair, couple of other friends, and Dr. Manmohan Singh was there. And he asked a question, what are your programs and all that? We rolled out the all cutting edge technology programs. But the next question he asked, how are you managing your human resources? Because those are the days there, it was extremely difficult to get the people, quality people, because of the IT boom was there. Sir, it has become very difficult nowadays, we are unable to get. Very coolly he said, you come out with your own program, I will support. Just he gave a hint. And from there, we traveled together, myself, Madhavan Nair, and some of us. We came back. We decided we should start an institute. But then, you know, it's just not that. The principal secretary, the Mr. Nair, who came in month of December and asked what is happening. But fortunately, we had really written the blueprint, prepared the project report, and put them together. And he followed it up. And that's how IIST took birth. And it's still very green in my memory, the 14th September 2007, when we inaugurated IIST in VSS auditorium at that time, and 148 students, and I think he was told 18 faculty members, we all put together. That was the start of IIST. Idea was to have to impart the high quality education as well as trigger the research so that all long-term research will be done by IIST, which is required for ISRO programs. You know, I'd like to mention that while doing these two things, we had yet another important objective, that is to make IIST world-class institution. Everybody says that, but then we had a reason to tell. Because at that time, we had some kind of collaboration and understanding with, I think all of you may know that Caltech and JPL, California Institute of Technology and Jet Propulsion Laboratory, you know, there is a lot of similarity. That's what we found out at those days. Caltech and IIST, I don't know how many of you are really aware. They also work around 50 acres land. There are also about 2,000 plus students. Only thing is student-teacher ratio is something like 1:3, whereas we have 8, but then it is much better than 17, 18, what we have in IITs. I think you are all blessed people, I want to tell you. But then what I want to mention is they are about 80, 85 years old institute, which is having almost similar characteristics. But in the 88 years, there are 38 Nobel laureates have come out of California Institute of Technology. Number one. Number two is from California Institute of Technology, Jet Propulsion Laboratory took birth. Here, IIST took birth from ISRO. You know, there is a lot of similarity, but you have a bigger brother of ISRO, which is one of the technology giants in the country today, whereas the JPL took birth from California Institute of Technology. And all of you know that the value of Jet Propulsion Laboratory today, one of the giants in the interplanetary missions all over the globe. And they have the support of Caltech. Whereas here IISc took birth later, you have the support of the giant of ISRO. That is one of the reasons I'm telling that you have every reason to become world-class organization. Please see what can be done beyond 15 years. I think that is the message I would like to give. And as far as the education is concerned, just I will take 2 minutes only. I know that you are all awaiting to listen to the excellent lecture that is going to come by Dr. Radhakrishnan. And education was one of the things. This is also another interesting thing that I would like to mention is that in one of the visits to Caltech, they just said that we have a program, 10 months program of MTech, and it's all for international students. Sitting there, I told him, why can't you take IIST students? We will also try to depute 1 or 2. They agreed. But then he cautioned, Yalachi, Professor Yalachi was the director at that time, Gal said, Suresh, I would like to mention one thing. Look, this is a 10 months very intensive course for MTech, which otherwise would run for 2 years. And I really don't know how your students would fare, whether they'll be able to complete it. Believe me, year after year, several years are over now. Every year, IIST student stands first in the whole. That is the testimony for the education imparted in IIST. I think I'm really happy and proud of IIST, particularly faculty members who have been doing such an excellent job. Research is just sort of shaping up very well. I think chairman also has given a lot of importance to that. I think we have a lot more to do, and I'm sure that you will come out with a program. And that's where this year-long celebrations is going to really act as a catalyst. And every program that you plan, you just see what is the takeaway for me to become really this world-class institution. Just celebration and going out is of no use. Each one of the program, I think you chalk out such a way. At the end of that, what are the deliverables that would feed into becoming the world-class institution? I think that should happen. Already I mentioned it to register, and year-long, once you complete all programs, you put them together, that will give you the blueprint that in what direction that we need to proceed. And let me once again convey my greetings to all of you. I'm extremely happy that such a celebration has been organized. And we have to really look back and then look forward. Nothing short of that. So wish you all the best and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now let me take the honor of introducing our esteemed chief guest, Dr. K. Radhakrishnan, Member Space Commission, former Secretary, Department of Space, Chairman ISRO. Dr. Koppilil Radhakrishnan was Chairman of Space Commission, Secretary of Department of Space, and Chairman of ISRO from November 2009 to December 2014, providing strong and successful leadership to Team ISRO to execute 37 space missions, notably India's first Mars orbiter mission from concept to fruition. An avionics engineer and a distinguished alumnus of IIM Bangalore and IIT Kharagpur. Dr. Radhakrishnan is a Fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineering, Fellow of National Academy of Sciences, Honorary Life Fellow of the Institution of Engineers, Honorary Fellow of IETE India, Distinguished Fellow, Astronautical Society of India, and member of the International Academy of Astronautics. Dr. Radhakrishnan was bestowed with Padma Bhushan in 2014 by Government of India. The Nature International Weekly Journal of Science chose him as one of the 10 people who mattered in the year 2014. He is recipient of 12 honorary doctorates and 40 awards, including Lifetime Achievement Awards from ISRO, L&D Emil Memorial Award of International Astronautical Federation. His autobiography, My Odyssey, Memoirs of the Man Behind the Mangalyaan Mission, was published by the Penguin India Random House in 2016. This was later adapted as the first Sanskrit science movie, Yanam, in which the lead role was played by Dr. Radhakrishnan. Currently, Dr. Radhakrishnan is member of Space Commission, member of National Security Advisory Board, chairperson of the Board of Governors of IIT Kanpur and IIT Rupa, chairman of Standing Committee of the IIT Council, chairman of the Oversight Committee of SERB-DST, and member of the societies of 5 autonomous institutions under the Ministry of Earth Sciences. Sir, we are very privileged to have you here. अब मैं हमारे मुख्य अतिथि डॉक्टर के राधाकृष्णन जी को नेतृत्व के जीवन सबक विषय पर व्याख्यान देने के लिए सादर आमंत्रित करूंगी. May now, with utmost respect, invite Dr. K. Radhakrishnan to deliver the 8th Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam lecture on life lessons in leadership.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chancellor, my friend, philosopher and guide, Dr. Suresh, distinguished chairman, and my beloved colleague, Shri Somanath and Unnikrishnan, directors Narayanan, Samdayal Dev, distinguished deans, faculty members, registrar, and all the young faces who are present here. Thank you for this opportunity, especially to give this talk on an important day of this institute. That's when you are starting the 15th year to 16th year journey. As Indigo says, now we are from 16 to 17, you are from 15 to 16. It's a crucial phase of your journey. And it's the right time to take a look at what Chairman just now mentioned about the mid-course correction or the change of course or trying to be more relevant for the nation and the institution which is with you today. The topic given to me is about the leadership lessons. And let me start by saying that every one of us, there are traits of leadership. And leaders have been there from time immemorial. At one point of time, it was thought this is something to do with the gene. Extraordinary individuals have the traits to become leader. Somebody who is different from the rest of the crowd. It is inborn, it is natural, it is innate. These are all the beliefs. And obviously we have seen in our school days, college days, leaders coming up. All could not probably be leaders at that time. But later it was realized these skills can be acquired. And that doesn't stop anybody from acquiring this and becoming leaders and good leaders. And over the years, last 150 years, there have been studies on this subject. When I was a student of IIM Bangalore, this was a subject of study. It came under this title, organizational behavior. We talked about what is leadership. And here we have one of the great leaders of this nation. People like Dr. Suresh and myself, we knew him quite intimately from the early 70s. Probably he started a few years before I started knowing Mr. Kalam of those days. And we used to travel in the same bus, someone with curly hair, with a leather bag, quite active and mingling with everyone who traveled in those days, talking about what they can deliver for his project. And that was the difference between several others and Mr. Kalam. And soon we saw him taking up the role of the project manager for the SLV3. And I tell you today, we talk about Amitabh Bachchan. And Mr. Kalam was the Amitabh Bachchan those days in PSSC. When he came from TERLS to Valley Hills people used to come and see who is this person. I want to see him. That was the kind of aura or charisma he had created all through hard work, focused work, and working with the people and getting the best out of everyone. And if you see the leaders who are there in rocketry, half of them will be products of this Kalam group. The other half will be from the Gupta group. I mentioned these two because these are two examples of leadership. What is a people-oriented leader and the other is a task-oriented leader. And in the 1970s, people said it's a continuum, task-oriented leaders and the people-oriented leaders. Of course, it depends upon whether it's an operational activity, an R&D activity, a structured situation, unstructured situation, willing members of the team or unwilling members of the team. So all theories were under this group. So today, I'm extremely happy that we talk about leadership in this context. What is the essence of leadership? It is to do with people. It is to do with teams. And there is a purpose which has to be achieved. And that purpose has to be achieved in a given situation within the constraints of what all we can have. And between the leader and the followers, there is a relation. That relation can be formal, as you are chief of an organization. It can be informal, you are part of a voluntary group. It can be a social enterprise. It can be an institution. It can be even anything. So these are the four corners of what is called leadership act. Now, today I'm going to talk about the lessons that I learned. How did I learn about? And I'm sure I would have been very low in the traits given by God to me in terms of leadership. I was not a leader in the school days. I was not a leader in the college days, but I observed leaders. And later when I came to ISRO also, I had the opportunity to look at the first generation leaders of Tumba, like Dr. Kalam, like Dr. Gupta, whom I mentioned, and persons like Professor Satish Dhawan, Dr. Brahma Prakash, all. So observational learning of ISRO leaders, how they built ISRO, how they built the rocket program, satellite program, application program. That is part one. Second one has to do the homework. One has to decide, yes, this is one thing which I need to acquire. So that will, that target. And yes, I have to, after 30, 40 years, somewhere I have to reach. Those days in our interview committee, some people used to ask, at the age of 50, what do you want to be? And this question is asked when you are in 25 or 30 years of age. I had also an answer at that time. I said, I would like to be number 2 level in the organization. I will work for it, whether I get it or not, it's a different question. But once you have that resolve, you try to evolve yourself to reach that through study, through work, etc., etc. So this is something which I did. And on this subject, there's a lot of literature available. And when you talk about the literature, essentially it is the result of a few decades of study by a few people. That means all the mistakes that people did in the past all would have been put together, and that nectar of the knowledge is available to you. It's for you to take it or leave it. And once you have that, you have to practice and then improve. You make mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and then reinforce, and then also start sharing this with others. And from space, again, I moved into another area of higher technical education in the last few years. How do we get into that? This was another area. Let me talk about this institution called ISRO and why ISRO is today different from many other organizations of similar nature, similar heritage, similar size. It's all because of, again, two great leaders who came in succession. Without much of elaboration, these are all known things. Vikram Sarabhai and Professor Satish Dhawan. The indomitable vision that we talk about, which is shared by everyone, and the spirit of self-reliance. This has been the key to ISRO's path and inspired teams. Ahmedabad, in Thiruvananthapuram, later in Sriharikota, Bangalore, all came through that. And several programs that we talk about today, all were nucleated in those days. And here comes another person, takes on that vision, shapes the organization in all these areas. So there was a dreamer, there was a person to build. That's how they got it. So learning from them and learning how an organization could be designed and led to perform, to deliver to the national needs and the people needs. This was a great lesson, which I could use later. And we talk about the ISRO way of doing it. Whether you like it or not, there is an ISRO way which has been there for decades. One, of course, is national priority, is ISRO's priority. We are not here spending government's money and the taxpayers' money to do what we think is right, to improve our biodata. We are doing it for the national biodata. If there is a cyclone, if there is a problem anywhere, we have to be there with the solution. This is what we have been doing. And this is known to everyone in this organization. And of course, the greatness of ISRO is team excellence. 1 + 1 becomes 11, commonly told. How the intelligence of all people put together will bring you something much more than what you can put together. So these are great things that continues to be in the system and the techno-managerial decision-making process. This is probably the only organization, other than the academic institutions, where a junior person can lead, chair a meeting, where everyone, irrespective of the levels, would express their views. And dissent is what is required. Productive conflict is what is required. And once you take decision through that process, then finally everyone will accept it and go with that. The project management structure, we deal with mega projects as compared to many other places. But we have a system that we have evolved and improved. Of course, we meet the schedules that we ourselves put, tight schedules, system reliability, the autonomous mission review system, and the launch authorization. Many people used to ask me when I was chairman, you authorize this launch, success or failure. And I had to tell them that it is not the chairman who decides. It is a system of independent review system. And that goes through. And of course, the failure, resilience, and the lessons that we learn. Transparency, this is another part of it, and accountability. And these are all things which have to be preserved, and it is the responsibility of the new generation to improve on that because times are changing. Now let me just tell you my first step was somewhere in 1984 where I was given a job to lead people. 150 was the number of the team of scientists and other group of people. Essentially, my job was to translate a vision that Professor Dhawan had set along with his colleagues from all of the departments on how to use remote sensing satellites for this nation, whether to find water or to find out the condition of the agricultural land, etc., all over the country, in all states. So we had to create this regional remote sensing centers. We created that. We did national projects and regional projects. And one young member of the team, Dr. Krishnamurthy, is with you today as a professor and the registrar. You also had a few scientific secretaries coming out of that system, including the current scientific secretary. So this was a great platform for me to learn on the power of young people. And many of those young people who were there, they are today, the computer scientists are there as CTOs, etc., in many multinationals. It's a great pool of people. We all put together, heads up put together, and we decided what we should do, and we did that. Now, I had to evolve. Dr. Suresh knows me from the day I joined ISRO. That was Radhakrishnan version 1. Even in the 80s, in the 90s, I used to react. When I thought something is correct, I will bat from the front foot. And this will create a lot of enemies, even though people say you are upright, forthright, etc., etc. But if you want to be a leader, one has to be more sensible in this. From a sensitive person, I evolve myself as a sensible person. It was a transformation. I could feel that. That is when I learned the difference between reaction and response. And I had to go through a process. First, I put a target. I should change myself. And some of these books help me to improve myself. I'm not going to talk more about it. You can look at this book and many such books and learn. Because by 3 o'clock, we have to close this session. Finally, what I learned from this whole process is there are 3 things. Knowing. And all that you are doing today in IIST is learning how to learn. Learning doesn't stop when you get the BTech degree. It starts when you get the BTech degree. And learning is a lifelong process. In olden days, we could manage for 5 years without much of learning. But today, if you don't learn, within 6 months, you'll become obsolete. And then you have to widen your horizon. We'll talk about it later. The second one is there are so many people with ideas, wonderful ideas, walking encyclopedias. But how do you translate that into an action? Someone felt that, yes, you must have an institute. But you asked Dr. Suresh sometime, what all he went through in the first few years, including the location of the place where the institute has to be put. And in those days, if you open the Asianet channel, there used to be a news. And Dr. Suresh was known as the person associated with that activity. He was known more for that than for the space recovery experiment, which was conducted so successfully. So all this one has to go through. So translating an idea into an action of organizing and realizing it into this stage. I'm sure the founders will be so happy today to have this institute. And finally, you as an individual, your character, your conscience, honesty, integrity, the values, all these matters. Finally, only that will take you to be respected and probably a lecture instituted in your name. You will be a revered role model. There are a few books which I would like to just point out to you. Read it when you get time. This is something which we all studied in our younger days. It's called Learning Organization, a term coined by Peter Senke. And what he calls is the 5th discipline. There are 4 disciplines, but this 5th discipline is more important than the rest of it. System thinking, looking at the whole, not look at things or events. Look at the larger picture. see the forest, see the patterns, see the trends, see the interconnections between. If there is a war between Ukraine and Russia, you should be able to know what is the impact on you and your system. It will require a larger canvas in which one should be able to think and then act. Personal mastery, like I told earlier, how do you master yourself actually? And then mental models. On any situation, one can have a computer model, but many people, especially who deal with the larger systems, including decision makers and government, they should have that mental model, and you should be able to conceive something happens here. How do I deal with the other subject? Building a shared vision, as I told today, ISRO has a shared vision. How do you transform your vision into visions of each individual of the team? When ISRO decides that we are going to have a Mars orbiter mission, the next possible opportunity, which is considered impossible, how do you transform it into the targets for each and every member of the family? There is nothing that you can dictate. You cannot tell that I will give you merit promotion for all of you if you achieve that. That is not the way. It should become their own target. And finally, as I said, team excellence, team learning. How the intellect of the team is much more than that of the team members. So this is what that big book has put in summary. Try to learn that. And as engineers who learn system theory, you will appreciate this much more. We talk about cybernetics, we talk about feedback, we talk about servo mechanisms, all are part of this process. But system thinking, ability to see the larger things is the core of it. For the rocketry, there are so many experts. But how many are there who understand the rocket in toto? Or the satellite in toto? Or is there anybody who looks at the rocket, the satellite, the ground system, and finally the people who are going to use it? Is the need of the person on the ground dealing with the cyclone is translated into the satellite? This is the question somebody has to ask. So that is what you have to try. In common parlor, it is called you should count the tree and also see the forest. Both are required for a leader. This is something which is latest. People talk about transformational leadership. In olden days, we were all used to this transactional leadership. I will put the target, they produce 100. If you produce 110, I will give you extra money. Or somebody will say, I will get a merit promotion for you if you do this ahead of time. So these are all transactions between the leader and the follower. But a new category came, the people who transform the people actually, the leaders. There are several characteristics of that. First and foremost, individualized consideration. That is, you pay attention to the people, their needs. You also stimulate, don't take things for granted. And be a role model, admired role model. And you inspired the people. Why we are doing something is to be told, rather than you do what I tell you. And one model in India, in the space system that I found, is Professor Satish Dhawan. And if you look at from any angle of this model of transformational leaders, that person fits into it, and that I have written in an article in Current Science in 2020. I'm not explaining that, but that is something which you could look at it. This is another classification. There's a book called Good to Great. How from good you could become great. There are so many who are good. But what makes those people great or the organizations great? What kind of leaders are there? So he devised this. If you look at yourself, you will be somewhere at the bottom level, one highly capable individual. All are highly capable individuals. Are they team players? You will see several people we call in Malayalam, Atayan. They can work only with themselves. But there are many who are team players. Then they become competent managers. A few of them become effective leaders. Most of the people you can see at the level 4, But there are some people who also get into that next level, that is with the blend of personal humility and professional will. Both are there actually. And in the world, we talk about Mahatma Gandhi, talk about Nelson Mandela, and such leaders. There was no reward system that Mahatma Gandhi could give to his people. But there was a theme which he stood for, and that was everybody's theme. Level 5 leaders. So this is something one could try to take as a target. Transformational leadership or level 5 leadership. This again is the path, just to mention. 2005, I was in a different setting. My domain there was different from what I have been doing. Here I was a super specialist in electromagnetics. Today what you call IISU, ISRO Inertial System Unit, was a 2-room laboratory led by Mr. Vedachalam under the guidance of Dr. Gupta, and I was making a small motor for that purpose. Then I got into another domain afterwards, into avionics in general, as a generalist. In Regional Remote Sensing Center, my domain was computer processing, digital image processing, and remote sensing applications. And today what we call geospatial database. Now I got into a new domain in a new setting in a new department, and that was on ocean information system. There I had the opportunity to redefine the vision of that institute from a data center to a knowledge and information technology enterprise for the oceanic realm with national significance and international claim. And we reached that. And my senior most colleague, who was 20 years younger to me, is now the secretary of the Ministry of Earth Sciences. And the next person you will see him, listen to him day after tomorrow in the INAE conference. 2006, again, there was an international role, like Dr. Suresh has been dealing with the UN Committee on Peaceful Use of Outer Space. I was dealing also with the ocean here. We have all member states, like all of you, coming from sovereign nations. And there is a global vision which has been set, and you have to have harmony between all these members bringing together. And later, at National Remote Sensing Agency, the issue was futuristic revival of that institution. And of course, in Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, thanks to all these people, we had bold program, human space flight. Dr. Suresh handed it over to me with Unnikrishnan. He went to the Space Commission and got a lot of progress in the process of convincing them on the need and desirability of human spaceflight for the country. We had the GSLE Mark III program at that time in the testing phase. All this was happening at that time. And ISRO in the new frontiers, that's why we had the Mars mission, etc. In the bottom, I have given some numbers. Those numbers are the number of people in this organization. So when you have a leader has to deal with a large number of people whom you may not even see, but they should feel what is that vision, what is that, and how do you communicate with the people? It's important. Now, these areas, whatever I did, at least after 8 years, you know whether it was good or bad. The judgment is for someone else to make. But this is an area where I am again, I was a novice, I got into it. This is on the academic governance of a high-tech institution like IIT Kanpur. And let me also go back and say, when Professor Dhawan had the systems for reviews and decision-making in ISRO, essentially he adapted from the Senate system of Indian Institute of Science. That's where he gave opportunity for everyone to express the view, have dissent, and come to a decision. Here we see, of course, the world-class talents are there in terms of students, in terms of faculty members there. And academic freedom and academic flexibility is something sacrosanct for any such institute of eminence. And this is what makes them different from others. Along with that, there is an academic excellence which always we look for individual as for the institute and for the departments and the centers. There is also an academic accountability. You are judged by the students, by the peers, by the professionals, other places world over. And there is an administrative diligence, which is an essential part of it. So this is one element of it. Just now we were listening from chairman, 10,000 members of this institute are today with ISRO. And look at those institutes, many 10,000 students are there all over the world. Someone says the CEO of IBM is my student, like that. They are spread all around the world, and that's a great community. So when you talk about an IIT like Kanpur, behind them we have 40, 50,000 alumni who have the passion and attachment with the institute. Anything happening good or bad in the institute will be reflected there. And let me also share with you 2019 February when I was inducted as the chairman of the BOG of IIT Kanpur. The president of the Alumni Association came and talked to me for 1.5 hours. Not for selection, but find out whether the fellow will do harm or he will do something good. And the secretary also came and asked. And he also asked me a question, your allegiance will be to Kharagpur or Kanpur? I said, my role is in Kanpur, so my allegiance is there with Kanpur. So they have that connect and the passion. And of course, a compelling vision has to be there, which we put together, make that and work for it. And our idea is to stay and excel as an institute of national significance. And these are institutes with 60+ years of legacy and heritage. What one should do is help them to get into the next level. But I have put a few bullets on the sides. Chairman mentioned about what is that going to be your role in the future. I feel the IIT, the higher technical education system, have a major role for ensuring technology security for the country. And if you look at the condition of India today, you can see large level of import for any engineering equipment. Look at your own laboratory. How much of it is Indian, how much of it is imported. And if you see the exports that we make, they are for general items. The technological intensity of the export from India is very low. Even if you take an atomic energy program, space program, or any other major program, our dependence on import is still high. We may say in launch vehicle it is 10%, in satellite it may be 30%, etc., but they are very crucial for us. If one element is not available, program will get into problem. So our target should be, from this technology dependence, we have to become technology adequate and also decide that we are going to be number one in the world in a few areas, leaders in a few areas. And if you have to be leader in a few areas and not followers in science or engineering or technology, what you require is research and development. And that is one role that IIST should be able to take for the future. We talk about future ready society. Even for governance today, technology is going to play a very major role. Whether it is geospatial data, there is a conference going on now in Hyderabad from his chairman is just here actually. Geospatial data has become part and parcel of every activity today. Maybe 20 years back, it was limited to a few scientific institutions. Citizen science and governance was going to be there. So as a countryman, countrywoman, we should be able to access technology, use technology, and where those people are produced in these institutions. And if you look at academic institutions, the research problems that we take, generally they are of small magnitude. What a professor with a few students can handle in 3 to 4 years. 100 projects of, let us say, 10 lakhs value. Can this be reversed? Can it be 10 major projects and well knit small projects? If we can do that, we can look at the national priority and look at that. Possibly, COVID was one thing that made people think in that direction, whether it is vaccine or whether it is our mask or ventilator, etc., etc., is needed. We should work together for it. People made it actually. Of course, on the left-hand side, we talk about international class institution. Our students go abroad to study, but how many come to India to study? This is something which we should think of. So today we are thinking of both bringing them here to study and starting our own institutions in other places, offshore centers of higher education institutions. A few of them are being set up. Maybe in 2 years' time, you will see in a few countries like UAE or Malaysia or even Tanzania, etc., such HEIs coming up there. And of course, autonomy is something that every institution would look for, and I call it graded autonomy. We still have accountability to those who pay for our salary. Now, with this, I would stop and then say, what did I learn? Now it's already 3 o'clock, so I'll just take another 5 to 6 minutes. First and foremost, what I learned is continue to widen one's horizon. Today we talk about domain switching from one domain to another domain. One should be able to. Dr. Suresh once told me, if you are a good control engineer, you should know about the structure. You should know about propulsion. You should know about aerodynamics because they are all interrelated. That is on launch vehicles. But if you get into domains outside space, you should be able to look at the connects between the end and beginning. Raise conceptual skills. This is what I told, counting the trees and seeing the forest. It's essential to see the trends, turning points and patterns. Sense and prepare for opportunities. I will take 2 minutes here. I was in remote sensing activity in Hyderabad. 14th September 2007, the birth of IISc also had another decision that Dr. Suresh, at that time director of ISRO, is going to be the founder director of IIST. So I got an opportunity and I was given a hint by him 6 months in advance, you are also one of the candidates. And imagine I left this place 26 years before that. So 6 months I was a student of launch vehicle technology. And you know who are those people dealing with it? Because the current generation of 2007 plus are all who joined after I left this place. People like Somanath, Radhakrishnan, etc. All these people were introduced to me by Dr. Suresh. I learned about the people. I learned about the technology to the extent I can understand it. So preparedness is very important. So when I took charge here, at least I could visit each area and ask a couple of questions or understand what they speak to me. Preparedness is important. Embrace adversities and put tough target. Mars orbiter mission is a typical example of that. If you want a smooth sail, if you want to be in your comfort zone, you'll be somewhere. But if you want to excel, one has to get out of the comfort zone and then be. When you ask many people in Trivandrum, would you like to go to Ahmedabad? There is a very good opportunity. Some people may say, yes, I will take this. So all the hardships financially, otherwise I will go through, I will learn in a new terrain and excel. Some people say I'm comfortable here. So second set of people will have problem actually. Encourage critics from all levels, not only from even your youngest fellow should be able to tell you this is the problem. And I respect critics, real critics, good critics with good purpose. And essentially, the people who will say what you are doing is great will lead you to water and they will clap when you drink water. So you must have good critics. I remember what Somanath told a couple of years ago that I had given him freedom to criticize me. but he is my best critic actually. Am I right? Because then only you will excel. Gain stakeholders' trust. Trust is something which is essential, that if you break trust, then you cannot rebuild it. Finally, it is trust, whether it is to the government, whether it is to the media, whether it is to your own employees. Consistency and trust, they are important. Foster team excellence, essential. Enrich the vision and sustain focus. That is your job actually, not to maintain as it is. Accomplish and make a difference. For that, all those things are required. And growing new generation is our responsibility. Anyone who does not grow the successor, anyone who makes himself indispensable, is a bad leader. If you're a good leader, the system should work without you. That is a test for you. And try to leave a legacy. Everyone cannot create a legacy, but try. And finally, share, care, and mentor. And I stop here.
ज्ञानवर्धक और प्रेरणादायी भाषण के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। थैंक यू सर फॉर योर इंफॉर्मेटिव एंड इंस्पिरेशनल लेक्चर। अब मैं हमारे निदेशक महोदय से अनुरोध करूंगी कि वे हमारे मुख्य अतिथि को स्मृति चिन्ह भेंट करें। As a token of our love and gratitude, may now request the Director IST to hand over the memento to the guest of the day, Dr. K. Radhakrishnan.
One or two questions you can ask to Radhakrishnan sir. Only one or two. The golden chance. Hands up and just. Quickly, please. Yeah, please. Come forward and.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, actually, while you are mentioning that to become a leader, you must start with a broader vision. So what I observe is that in today's competitive world and in today's generation and what all are the other things that are happening around, I feel that our generation is kind of like, even if we want to have a broader vision, we are limited by certain difficulties or certain other distractions. And the term called perseverance is missing inside us. So like, what do you, how do you manage that perseverance level?
If you have to be a good leader, first you have to be a good follower. That is essential. Second one, you have to have a target and you have to work for it actually. One cannot say that I'm going to be a leader. It is a byproduct of all that you pursue. Why someone else should accept you as a leader?
Maybe they want to follow us.
If somebody has to follow you, there has to be something in you, right? So vision is one of the item. You have a vision, but you have so many other things to also support that vision and then carry forward. And you know that if you follow that leader, you will also achieve something.
So like, how to deal with the short-term commitments that hinder the long-term goals? Like,
see, you cannot say this without a context. It has to be in a context. Suppose you want to be the leader of the student community here. How do you become a leader?
Addressing their issues.
Right. If there is a pressing issue, what every student has, and you become the champion of that cause, to take it up with the management or to take it up with any other authority, people will follow you. That is what Mahatma Gandhi did. You have no other power actually. If Chairman ISRO wants to do something jolly, well, people will do because he has the formal authority. You have to have that cause, that ideology, principle as the binding force, the connect between the people, and go with that.
Okay, thank you. One more? Yeah. Here.
Good afternoon, sir. During your speech and lecture, a thought came across my mind. So, which I am conflicted about. Is it the circumstances or the purpose which which creates a leader, or is it leader who gives a purpose or a cause?
If you do the first, you will be like a floating piece of wood in a river. The circumstances are going to guide you, but there will be circumstances, adverse or otherwise. You should be able to steer through that situation. That is what a leader should do. And if you are able to do that, people also will follow you. You should not be a slave to the circumstance. That's what is. I think that person, somebody was standing there also. Last question.
Yes. Good afternoon, sir. I have a very small question. How consistent